Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for my team selector and preview ahead of tomorrow's game against Sheffield United in the FA Cup quarter-final. Chelsea are in the quarter-final of the Champions League and are in the quarter-final of the FA Cup. And the FA Cup still provides to me the most realistic chance of glory of silverware this season. There is so much optimism and momentum around Chelsea currently with Thomas Tuchel following Wednesday's massive win over Atletico Madrid, getting into the last eight of the Champions League. We know we've got Porto now in that. There's excitement over getting further in the UCL this season. But the FA Cup, for me, it's a big chance. And I also think just selfishly because fans could be back in the stadium by the FA Cup final, and the chance to have fans back in for that game would be massive for Chelsea to potentially lift a piece of silverware after what has been a challenging season, but could have a wonderful end to it. And the FA Cup is a massive part of that. And Chelsea need to have the same focus, intensity tomorrow, because it's a great opportunity to get into the last four once again at Wembley next month. But before we get into any of that good stuff, team news, my lineup, all that good stuff, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also hit the like button if you're enjoying the content, because it helps out the channel as well. Team news, no Thiago Silva once again. That was fully expected. I mean, Tuchel did say, I believe, post Atletico or even Leeds time, he was saying that you need to expect him to be back post the international break, and that's what's happened. Even though we did see Thiago jumping up and down in the East Stand the other night when, of course, he was celebrating with Mount and Jorginho. Jorginho is another player who wasn't pictured in training on Friday, and apparently via Carefree Youth, a great account on Twitter, very reliable in terms of Chelsea news, claiming that he has a knock. That's why he was out of training. We're not quite sure about his availability for tomorrow. You did expect that Jorginho and Mason Mount, two players who missed Wednesday's game due to suspension, would be back in for this game. So we'll have to wait and see on that front, because he has been quite a senior player under Thomas Tuchel so far, and I did feel this was a game to bring him back in. But other than that, Tammy Abraham could be involved tomorrow. Apparently he did roll his ankle in training, Thomas Tuchel said in his press conference, but Tammy could be at least on the bench, which I think is massive just to have Tammy back. There's been so much noise around Tammy, his future, what's the future going to hold for Tammy Abraham at Chelsea basically, and I think a lot of that has been riled up by the fact that he's been injured. He hasn't been able to play any games, so there's been no time for him to get opportunities under Thomas Tuchel, and that's always going to increase those speculation, and especially thinking about the future of Chelsea too. So hopefully Tammy will be back sooner rather than later, maybe on the bench tomorrow, could get some minutes off the bench too. But looking at Sheffield United, of course we faced them back in February. We've beaten them twice already, once at home, 4-1 back in November in the Premier League, and 2-1 at Bramall Lane a few months ago. There has been a change of head coach very recently, of course Chris Wilder leaving his post. I mean, it could turn into an inspired move if they get an incredible result tomorrow at Stamford Bridge, but still it seems a little bit strange to me, that club where it's going, especially in the Premier League. We know they're going to be relegated. We've known that pretty much for most of the season, especially even post-Christmas where they had a little bit of a resurgence, winning a couple games. It's been pretty clear they weren't going to get out of that trouble, and it's been a really terrible season for them. And I just wonder, going into the Championship next season without the sort of the talismanic figure like Chris Wilder, who has inspired this club to get back to this level. He's been an incredible coach for them. I think that's a big mistake, because I think a bit like what Sean Dyche did with Burnley, if you remember, Sean Dyche was with Burnley, they went down to the Championship and he helped bring them back up, and of course still with them now in the Premier League as a regular part of that club too, and sort of the fabric of that club. It just feels a little bit weird to me. So Wilder, I think he'll get a big opportunity somewhere else. For Sheffield United, I think it's going to be a difficult job for the rest of this season and also next season, trying to get back up to the Premier League, because the Championship is a really difficult league to get out of for many clubs, as you see with clubs who've struggled in the Premier League in recent years, going down to the Championship and the struggle to get back up. So we'll have to see what happens to Sheffield United. But for tomorrow, got to be fearful of David McGoldrick. Loves a goal against Chelsea. And for Sheffield United, sort of, it could be an incredible end to what has been a really horrible season for them. So we've got to be aware of that. There's going to be maybe a sense of unity back there to try and get something out of this. It's going to be a difficult game. I think they're going to sit back, try and make it difficult for Chelsea. And Chelsea have to be aware, just because they are massive favourites for this game, not to lose focus, concentration, and sort of just believe we're into the semis already. There has to be that same focus there. But you do look at their form, horrendous really throughout the whole season, but in their last five, losing 4 of the last 5-2. So we'll have to be aware of that. And their last game against Leicester, diabolical performance. I mean, in terms of the lack of spirit, how easy it was for Leicester, who were a good side, but how easy it was for them to carve through Sheffield United. I'm sure Tuchel will be hoping a similar level performance, because it will be very easy for Chelsea if that Sheffield United turns up at Stamford Bridge tomorrow. But let's get into Thomas Tuchel's sort of lineup, what I'm thinking in terms of the lineup. I don't think it should be too drastically different to the game on Wednesday, but I say that bearing in mind we know Tuchel already, the amount of changes he makes, and when he does make changes, you've got to go from this point. You've got to trust Thomas Tuchel. When he makes changes to the team, sometimes players you think should be starting, he's getting the results. So as a fan, you can't really moan about that. His big decisions, he's being vindicated when he rotates, so we shouldn't really question that at the moment whilst he's getting those big results. This was the last time we played Sheffield United. As you see, not too dissimilar to a lot of players we've seen recently. Mendy, Dave, Christensen, Rudiger. That was the first time Dave, Christensen and Rudiger started a game as the back three for Thomas Tuchel. Has been sort of a mainstay with the exception of a couple of games recently where Zuma has come into the back three for Christensen. James, Jorginho, Kovacic, Chilwell as the four, and then Mount, Werner behind Olivier Giroud. Giroud could come back in here. Thomas Tuchel did give some comments about Giroud, how he felt he could have had more of an impact in recent games, Southampton and Leeds. Hasn't had a ton of minutes, and I don't think that's too wrong from Tuchel, actually, even though he's blaming himself. I think that Giroud so far for Tuchel hasn't looked that brilliant. He scored some big goals for us, in particular the Atletico Madrid goal, which was incredible. But in terms of his all-round play, I do think we have looked better on a Tuchel, as has been proven recently, bringing Kai into that sort of false nine or just a number 9. We look a lot more fluid without that sort of obvious focal point. But Giroud against this type of opposition, who I think will sit a little bit deeper at the bridge, you could bring that physicality, that link-up play, and if he has a good game, has scored a lot of goals in the FA Cup in recent years, so it's sort of his competition, a bit like the Europa League. So I think Giroud could be used very wisely here, and hopefully he'll be motivated to come back into the team. But these are the two lineups I'm sort of going for. Mendy, Dave, Christensen, Rudiger. I think Zuma was incredible the other night, but I think maybe Christensen, who's back now, not feeling unwell anymore, I think he'll come back into the side. James, Jorginho, Kante, Kovacic, those 3 players. Of course, there's talk around Billy Gilmour, who did start the last round against Barnsley. Once you get to this stage, it's always interesting to me, given what Tuchel has done since then, because there has been quite a few games, quite important games and victories since then. We're so close now to the final that you think, is he going to just go with his first team? Trust the players. On top of that, the international break coming up as well. He may just stick with what's worked for him already. If Jorginho is injured, I could see the possibility of Gilmour starting this game go up even further. I think Chelsea are going to have a lot of the ball, which I think is great for Billy Gilmour, because Chelsea, with Gilmour on the side, we've seen when he does have a lot of time and space to move the ball around, can be a great metronome back there in terms of switching play, in terms of being a progressive passer, getting involved in the attacking moves as well. I just wonder, Georgie, Kova, Kante too. Kante could still feature. I do wonder Kante, given how much he put into that game against Atletico. We have had this thing before where sort of not overstretching Kante, given the minutes, given where he is in his career, the injuries he's had. So you don't want him to pick up another injury with the Champions League coming up as well. So Kante, I think, may be rested for this game. So now I think it will be Kovacic alongside one of Jorginho or Gilmour. Ben Chilwell back in the team. I think that will be a natural rotation once again. It seems one game on, one game off for both Chilwell and Alonso at the moment. Hakim Ziyech, of course, had a wonderful performance against Sheffield United. His probably best all-round performance in a Chelsea shirt so far back in November in that 4-1 win. He was wonderful that night. Hopefully he can replicate that against the same opposition, and hopefully that goal the other night and a good performance against Atletico will give him the confidence and belief if he starts. And I think Mount will feature in this game somehow, being back in after that suspension in midweek. Callum Hudson-Odoi too could feature on the left. I like him on the left. I think he looks a lot more exciting. Could be brought back into the starting 11. On both lineups, I have gone for Kai Havertz instead of Olivier Giroud. I just want to see that consistency there with Kai in terms of him making that role his own. I'm just more and more excited watching Kai play as the number 9 now and seeing how it makes our attack look a lot more fluid. And I just think as well, the way he uses his body, I think he's going to be challenged with physicality in this game a lot more than other ones, and seeing how he deals with that challenge. So I think Kai playing more minutes for a young player who struggled with minutes this season and fitness, I think giving him more minutes in a game of this nature, I think is better for Kai Havertz as a young player. And just seeing how he flows with other players, whether that's Mason Mount, Timo Werner, Hakim Ziyech, Callum Hudson-Odoi, I think all of this is quite exciting to see, that front three. So I'd rather go with Kai Havertz than Olivier Giroud, but I wouldn't be too stunned if Giroud comes back in here. But I'm going to go with Kai Havertz because I think he's had some really good performances recently. But that is my starting 11 for the game tomorrow. Let me know yours in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter at SonOfChelsea, and I'll see you again.